Happy Friday, everyone. I got a question for you. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? If you didn't have cards and presents and birthday cakes with a bazillion candles on it to give it away, would you know that you were old? Your dog would, because they don't have that. You may present a birthday cake to your dog. You may give it presents in the form of rawhides or toys. And you may even write a card for your dog. But do they really know their age? Do they feel old age creeping up on them? My answer is absolutely yes. There's plenty of evidence for it. But that's okay. That's the consequence of living on the planet and being able to safely adapt to everything around it, all the environments, you name it, and live long enough to grow old. So it's actually a good thing. And it's not something that we should dread and something that we should fret over, because our emotions feed into our dogs and actually raise their anxiety level. A dog's anxiety level will raise naturally just from the old process, the aging process, stress related. I'll go more into that tomorrow. Today I want to talk about you and your stress. I want to talk about how your emotions can actually affect that. I see hundreds of dogs a year. They're aging dogs in their geriatric years. And I see their elevated levels of anxiety that would not be at those levels if only the owners did not add to it, if they were not so anxious. Yeah, we always dread that day that is the end days for our dog. We see it coming. Sometimes you do, and if you're lucky, you do. If you're unlucky, it hits you out of nowhere. A routine visit to the vet, next thing you know, you're getting bad news. I've always wanted to know. I've always enjoyed and took part in my dog's aging process. It was like having a friend for a long time and then saying goodbye to that friend and then moving on to the next one. So how can you have that same kind of attitude in which it's not something that you dread, but something that you expect, something that you just simply resign yourself to and move on with life? You know, I want to tell you a little personal story. When I was a young lad growing up in Alaska, my mentor took me to visit an Inuit tribe in the northwestern part, or very remote Arctic part of Alaska. And when we arrived at this village, they had none of the conveniences of modern times, not even a snowmobile. They did have a few rifles and they had a few tools that were modern. But outside of that, it was as primitive could be. And while we were there was an elder man. And to me at that time, when I was that young, he looked ancient. His skin was like leather, like the leather that you see stretched from the hide of a walrus or a polar bear. His eyes could barely see. He had no teeth. His hair was in wisps of gray. But he had this air about him, this confidence. And through the days that we were there, I watched one person after another, one Inuit Indian after another, approach him. And some would bring snowshoes and he would do something with his hands to the snowshoes, talking to them. They would show him harpoons and he would adjust something on the harpoons. He would sit with people and he would chat with them, and they would chat back, and they would get up and they would leave. And after a few days of observing that, I was watching him one day and I just felt sorry for him. I did. I saw a proud man, a man that was probably capable of doing anything, a man that was so connected to nature, he was nature itself. And my mentor walked up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Hey kid, don't feel sorry for him. This man that you're looking at, he's lived his entire life for this moment. He is a powerful elder that is now able to pass to all of his people, all of them in his tribe, the knowledge and skills that he acquired enduring 86 winters in the Arctic. This is his time. And he's grateful for this time. He's lived his entire life for this moment. And when his moment is past, then he will pass. Don't feel sorry for him. I still remember that to this day. Still gives me chills. Sometimes it brings a tear to my eye. You know, and many days I wish I could be like that elder. Powerful, knowledgeable, resolute in your faith, but accepting of it. Knowing that your duty is being done. That you are leaving an incredible, valuable resource for your people. Heck, back then, he was like Chief Google. He was the Google. I miss those times. Doesn't seem like we have them any longer. And that's a real shame. Because we group living mammals like your dog, even though it may never live with a group other than you, it still has heritable traits. It still has instincts, the same as that powerful elder. And for us group living mammals, life at its most fundamental level is really nothing more than a series of progressive steps. You survive your birth. That's the first thing. Then you endure the climate, you endure parasites, you endure the danger of other predators. You win in the competition of food against your siblings, against other members of your pack, and you also win in the competition for a mate. And then you reproduce. And when you reproduce, you provide for your offspring. You safeguard them, and you teach them as individuals. And when you can no longer reproduce, then nature will keep you around long enough so that you can share your information, the knowledge that you have, with the entire group. And then when you can no longer do that, when you have passed all that you have, and then you're gone. That's it. Plain and simple. No more, no less to your dog. They're not humans. They don't carry around with them the trappings of humans. All the spiritual stuff that comes with being a human, all the wondering of the universe and about your soul. They're living animals that do all the things I just told you. And they, if capable and if able, will pass their knowledge on to the younger animals or the animals that come within your family. It's a special time. They've lived their entire lives to be there at that moment. Don't be anxious about it. Don't be fearful. Welcome it. Over the next couple of days, I'll talk to you about things that we have to adjust. My powerful elder was no longer included on the hunts. He was assisted around from one hut to the next because he did not have a walker. Some of his food was chewed for him so that he could ingest it. He was cared for, and he was done so with honor, with absolute humility. But everyone rejoiced in him. And when they looked at me like my mentor, they said, everything in their eyes said, don't feel sorry for him. This is where he wanted to be. This is his time. It's a glorious time. And soon he will pass, and it will be the next man's time and the next woman's time. Same thing again goes for your dog. They're not sitting there pondering, how many years do I have left? What's going to happen to me once I die? No, they keep on keeping on. I'm going to eat my food. I want to try and eat at the same time. And if you invite a young dog into the household with them, before they're too ancient, it can actually prolong their lives. But also, if you can keep your stress down, your anxiety, your fretting for them, worrying about them, worrying if they're in pain, worrying if they need this or they need that, if you can hold that in check, then it will not be passed to their dog, and therefore it will not contribute to an elevation in anxiety that will occur naturally from a rise in glucocorticoid levels, failing organs, failing eyesight, hearing, smell, you name it. That will bring a sense of vulnerability upon your dog, already by itself. Don't add to it. Just keep saying to yourself, when you see that old dog, say, it's your time. It's your time. Rejoice in your time. And be grateful you're there to share with your dog. If you do that, I promise you, you will make that aging process a lot easier for your dog. It is the way of things. Embrace it. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.